Okay, how are you? Everybody good? Okay, looks like we got a good contingent today. That's good. Um, I'm assuming you can see my PowerPoint display. Excellent. I just want to make a few announcements. So the first exam is a week from this Monday. It will be on everything we cover up until then. So we're doing biopsychology now, and we'll do sensation and perception next week. So hopefully we will get through sensation and perception. If we don't, the exam will cover what we do get through. Um, you're going to come to class just like usual. This is Friday the 22nd, and I'll just monitor you on these cameras while you take the exam. It'll be under quizzes, just like the quizzes are. And you'll have 33 minutes to take the exam. It's 25 really quick multiple choice questions. I'll make an effort not to put like super long prompts on there. And that way, the people who have time and a half can finish during the regular class time too. And I'm going to post a study guide by the Monday before so that you all have a full week to use that. Um, and just because somebody always asks, this is in your syllabus, but 10% of your grade is attendance and participation. So things like having your camera on, speaking during class, and 40% are the 11 quizzes being completed on time and your average for those. And 50% of your final grade are the exams. And there are 3 exams, and that includes the final. And the final is not cumulative. And they're all the same format. They're all 25 items, multiple choice. And when you're done with the exam, you can just log off and you're done for that day. I don't hold class after the exam or anything like that if people finish early. You're just done. Okay. The other thing is to complete the class, you have to complete the research requirement on SONA. So, or do the alternative written assignment. There are 2 people who are not signed up for SONA yet. I emailed you with the link. Takes 2 seconds. Just click on the link, put in your information, request an account. And right now, I just got an email from the administrator of SONA. And as of Tuesday, there were lots and lots of studies available. It looked like something like 11 studies. They might not all show up when you do your screening questionnaire, because like if they're looking for females and you're male or that kind of thing, or non-binary, then they wouldn't screen you into that study. Okay, but chances are you'll have your choice of studies right now. And they're quick and online, and they count as zero point 0.5 to 1 credit or 1.5 credits each, and you need 2 credits to finish the course. If you don't sign up for SONA, you have to sign up for SONA to finish the class. And then in addition to that, you have to get the 2 research credits. You can get them through doing the studies and or through doing the written alternative. There's tons of information on it in the syllabus, and there's tons of information on it in your Brightspace contents folder. It's all linked and written about in the syllabus, which is the first thing under contents in Brightspace. So read that if you're confused, because it's all there. And there's links to everything. Okay. So I just thought I'd give a reminder because there's a lot of stuff available right now. And sometimes towards the end of the semester, there's not as much stuff available. And it's not time consuming. But if you don't finish it, you get an incomplete for the course, and you have to finish your research requirement at the beginning of the next semester in order to get credit and get a grade for the course. Okay. All right. So now we'll continue to talk about biopsychology. Let me get my chat so I can see it. Okay. So, we talk about different parts of the brain. Probably the biggest way you can kind of talk about subsections of the brain is in terms of lateralization. So lateral means a side, right? So lateralization is if you divided the brain right down the middle, and you'd have the right hemisphere and the left hemisphere. And there's some specialization of function on each side. A lot of people think that the left side of the brain is dominant. The left side of the brain is the side that produces speech. So if you damaged the left side of your brain badly, especially around Broca's area, you would have trouble speaking. And the right side is thought to process visual information. What I want to say about that? Oh, the way I remember Broca's area is there's a famous newscaster. Now he's just like he provides commentary to the major news networks, and his name is Tom Brokaw. Do you guys know him? Is he too old for you? Anybody know who he is? Maybe if I show you a picture. So I'm going to try to get a good picture of him. Hold on. That's the best I can do, I guess. All right, stop share and share screen. This guy look familiar to anybody? Okay, it's like old white guy. But anyway, this is Tom Brokaw. And when I was growing up, before cable and 20,000 channels, he was on like one of the 3 channels that we had all the time. And he's a great speaker. So that's how I remember Broca's area is for speech. It's probably not going to help you if you don't know this guy. So I'll go back to the PowerPoint then. But that's on the left side of the brain. And the 2 hemispheres are connected by this really thick band of neural fibers. It kind of looks like, not to be gross, but if you cut open like a cauliflower, there's that central stalk that kind of connects all the little stalks. It looks like that. I mean, except there's fibers. It's really fibrous. There's it looks like little stringy hairs. So anyway, well, there's a picture of it right there. Yeah. So that's what connects the 2 sides of the brain, and that's how the left brain knows what the right brain is doing, and vice versa. That's how they communicate with each other. So there's a type of patient that sometimes has to have this corpus callosum severed. Does anyone know what usually is the cause of needing this part of your brain dissected or lesioned or severed? Why do they damage that part of the brain on purpose? Anyone have any idea? Kate?
Isn't it when they have seizures that they can cut the corpus callosum to keep the seizures from going to each hemisphere?
Yeah, so if somebody has bad seizures and they can't be controlled with medication and it's gonna damage the brain irretrievably, it makes more sense to sever that part of the brain to prevent them than it would be to allow the brain damage to continue that comes with a seizure, right? Because certain parts of the brain aren't getting oxygen and are being damaged during a seizure often. Okay, so before I show you this, I have a video of someone who had his corpus callosum severed, and usually, see, my chat just disappeared, so now I won't know if people are trying to reach me. Well, somebody tell me, okay? If you see a chat, will somebody just tell me? Okay. um, so this I have a little clip of split brain. That's what they call people. They call them either. I mean, you shouldn't. It's not people first language. I don't know how you. I guess it could be um, patients with split brain, but they also call them colossal patients, and it doesn't mean very big patients. It means patients who've had their corpus callosum severed. So that is why they come up with the word colossal. Um, but before I show you this, you need to understand one thing because it's hard to kind of follow this. Okay. When you're looking at things that you see in one field of vision, right? Like if you divided your field of vision in half, right? Things that you would see on one side get sent to the other side of your brain. It doesn't go straight back to that side of the brain, it crosses over. Okay. So it's not like the right eye crosses over to the left brain because you can see that like things in the right visual field here, go over here, right? But they cross over and go to the other side. Okay, this actually looks wrong. But this is showing left. Oh, okay, because it's coming in here. So things that you see on the right side out in the world come in here, get perceived on so this is things that you see in your right field of vision out in the world, okay? And it gets sent, and it gets sent to the back of your eye where the retina is. Those are types of nerve cells. And then those get routed back to your left brain, back here in the occipital lobe. And the occipital lobe is where vision gets processed. Okay. So everything in your right field of vision goes to your left brain. Everything in your left field of vision goes to your right brain. Okay. So this is the purple is the left field of vision and it ends up in the right brain. The green is the right field of vision and it ends up in the left brain. And it's not just this eye goes here and this eye goes here. It's the part of the eye. So you don't have to have one eye closed. You know what I'm saying? It's each eye has that ability to cross it over. All right. So these experiments are really wild. So I'm going to show you this. I might have to stop share and start share again. Can you see YouTube? No? Great. Okay. I'll stop share and start share again.
And right hemisphere now are working independent of each other, but you don't notice it. Now you just
Now can you see it?
to it. It doesn't. You don't have any
Okay, I'll
feeling
restart
different
it.
than it did before.
You can tell this guy's from around here by his accent. No sound? Wait.
You don't notice it. Now you
Still
just
see
kind of
it?
adapt to it. It doesn't. You don't have any feeling different than it did before.
7 years ago, Joe had brain surgery to allay the effects of severe epilepsy. His surgeon cut the nerve fibers connecting his left hemisphere with his right. While the operation was a complete success, Joe's unusual case offers an extraordinary insight into the machinery of mind. This fiber system, the corpus callosum, is located midway between the two hemispheres. When it was surgically severed in Joe's brain, the transmission of information between the two hemispheres was halted. Michael Gazanica.
What we can do is play tricks by putting information into his disconnected, mute, non-talking right hemisphere and watch it produce behaviors. And out of that, we can really see that there is, in fact, a reason to believe that there's all kinds of complex processes going on outside of his conscious awareness of his left half brain. Joe, I'm going to show you some things. I just want you to tell me what you see. And here we go. You ready? Look right at the dot. Okay, right. Okay, you ready?
Okay, which field of vision was the car in?
On the right.
On the right. And what part of his brain was used to state what he saw?
Oh, well, now isn't it the right? Because the transfer of information is not possible because I severed that connection, right?
Well, see, his left brain can still work, right? So
Okay.
somehow, I know it's wild because he can still see that he can still see, right? And it somehow gets, he's seeing it with his left eye too, right? So the left eye sends the information to his left brain too, right? But it's in his right field of vision. So it's hard to understand, but each eye, when something's in your right field of vision, sends it to the back of your left brain. Now, maybe his right eye can't really do it, but the optic nerve might be separate from the corpus callosum. I don't think so, but at least his left eye can send it to his left brain. And which part of the brain can speak? Anybody?
The left side of the brain.
Yeah, the left side. Oh, and my mnemonic is this, is left is for language, left is for lengua. If you know Spanish, it means tongue. You use your tongue to speak, right? Lingo, so speaking is the left side, okay? And then right is for processing and interpreting visual information and spatial processing. You can do it on the left too, but the right is more specialized for it. And R, this is a stretch, but R also stands for regard, which is to look at something, to regard something. And in French, anybody take French? Okay, so regarder. Sorry, I say it with a Spanish accent, but I took Spanish last. But so regarder, to look at something, right? Means to look. So R is to regard or to look. You can remember the sides that way. Left is for language. Just remember left is for language, and then you'll remember it's 50-50. The other one's for seeing or looking, right? So because visual stuff on his right side gets sent to the left side of his brain, he can say what he's seeing. Now, what's going to happen, do you think, if something's in his left field of vision and it gets sent to the right side of your brain? Is the same thing going to happen? Will he be able to say it? No, he's not going to be able to say it. So let's see what's going to happen. Oh, there's my chat. Oh, it's okay.
Right at the dot. Grapes. Good. When Joe focuses on a point, right at the dot, everything to the right of the point goes to his left brain, the dominant hemisphere for language and speech. Right at the dot. So we can see here that when we flash a word or a picture, Joe is easily able to name it.
Uh-oh.
Close your eye.
So what did that say?
Pan.
Yeah, it's pretty blurry. I just want to make sure you could see it. It said pan.
Let your left hand do a little work here.
He thinks he didn't see anything. So the experimenter gives him a pen and paper and says, just let your left hand do whatever it feels like. Okay, because consciously, Joe thinks he hasn't seen anything. And he's not left-handed, by the way. So whatever his left hand does might not be super like a work of art.
Okay, what do you got there?
And
Okay, very good. Now, when a word or a picture falls to the left of a fixation point, that information goes to his disconnected right half brain.
So do you get this? He can't say it when it's on the left field of vision, but he can draw it. He can draw on the right side of the brain. And so there's actually evidence too, I was reading about this, that in, split brain patients, the right brain gets kind of pissed off because the left brain is dominant and gets to speak and gets to make decisions. And sometimes the right brain, like somebody will be like putting their pants off and all of a sudden they'll like start taking them off and they're like having an argument with themselves and they don't know why, and they need their pants on, so I just find that fascinating. But most of the time people with this feel like they don't notice any effects of having had the surgery. You can look around like this most of the time. Most of the time you're not like having to focus on a dot in front of you, right? It might affect like peripheral vision a lot. But I would be like drawing with my left hand all the time if I had this, to be like, what's my right brain been doing? To make sure I knew what my right brain had been doing. You know what I'm saying? I'd be curious.
And as we can see here, Joe is unable to name it. Joe is able to draw.
Here, let me show you what he saw.
Falls to the left of a fixation point. That information goes to his
There's
disconnected
a
right half
car
brain.
on the left, wheel
And as
on
we
the
can
right.
see here, Joe is unable to name it. Joe is able to draw the picture with his left hand, the left hand getting its major control from the right half brain. What do you draw?
okay,
What do you see?
wheel, one side and the other side.
So even though he can't name it, his left hand is able to draw out the picture of the stimulus of the picture or word that we presented to his right half brain. What did you see?
So hammer.
So just close your eyes and draw with your left hand. Just let it go. It's nice. What's that?
Saw,
Yeah. What did you see?
hammer,
What'd you draw that for?
I don't know.
What we have with Joe is just a
So, I
dramatic
mean,
example of a
let me
neurologic
turn this
case
off.
that really allows you this window
Where
into
is
the
it?
non-conscious and
I
how
think it's
powerful
fine.
non-conscious processes are at influence.
Yes. Question?
But yeah, so is he telling him to close one of his eyes? Or
No.
no?
No, and I'm going to show you. You had a really good point that got me thinking. Irving, I want to show you something because I think your point is really good, and I don't even have to talk about the optical nerve crossing over, because if you look at this, and this person's brain is severed right here, I don't know if they can't. I don't think they can sever the optical nerve too, because then they'd be blind. They'd be partially blind. So the corpus callosum must not be so close to the optic nerve that those green and purple nerves get cut, right? So he doesn't have to close his eye to not see what's in one field of vision on the left side of his brain. I mean, on the right side of his brain. Because if you look, both eyes looking at something on this side, this is like what they see, that's green. Like, so say everything on the right in your world is green. Like we painted everything in a room green on the right and everything in a room is purple on the left, right? Because this is the world and this half is green and this half is purple. All the stuff from the right is represented by green and gets sent to this side. And from both eyes. And then all the stuff from the left is purple and gets sent to the right side in both eyes. You see what I'm saying? So he doesn't have to close his eyes because both eyes are kind of lateralized. What you see on the right part of your eye goes to the left, both of them. What you see on the left part of your eyes, both of them, goes to the right brain. Does that make sense? And it's all because of where it hits on the retina. Because the retina is the back of your eye, like, if you picture your eyes as spheres, the back kind of about a third of your eye. They were like hollow ping pong balls. The inside, like the third of the inside hollowed out part, is the retina, and that's aligned with cells. And the axons of those cells make up this nerve that travels all the way through the brain to the back of your head, which is the occipital lobe. And that's where you process what you saw. So this somehow communicates with the rest of your brain for you to be able to speak what you saw or draw what you saw. So if it's something you saw on the left, it's over here. So it can't talk about it. It can only draw it. But do you guys know why it can only draw it with the left hand? He couldn't, if you put the pen in his right hand, he wouldn't have been able to draw it.
Is it because the right side your right side of the brain controls the left side of the body?
Yes. Another weird crossover. So thank God the entire brain isn't just completely sliced in half. There are parts of the motor cortex, which is about here. It's part of your parietal lobes. It's like a headband shape. And then right in front of that is the sensory cortex. And so behind it is the motor cortex that tells your body to move. And the right side of it moves your left parts of your body. So if it's your right brain communicating that you saw a wheel or something, it would have to be drawn with the left hand because the right brain can't tell the right hand to draw. Unless maybe the sever, the cutting happened much earlier in life. Does anybody know why that is? Why would this have been better if he had had seizures really early on and that they did the corpus callosum dissection then?
Because the frontal lobe wouldn't have been fully developed.
Yeah, the brain wouldn't have been fully specialized yet. So he could have, the brain isn't totally fully lateralized until like your age. And even a little bit further on. You guys are still developing some emotional reasoning. So if you're making some bad decisions, anybody here making bad decisions? I still make some. No one? Don't want to admit. Maybe this weekend. No, don't plan it. But emotional reasoning is, part of what helps you make bad decisions, and that's up here in your frontal lobes. And then there's part of your occipital lobe that's responsible for our coordination, balance and motor coordination. And that's one of the biggest arguments for why they need to keep physical education in the high schools. And if you play a sport or something and you're frustrated with yourself, you could still get better. Like your brain could actually improve from practicing it right now. And strangely, like in puberty and like adolescence, I could not ski. Like I had to just take my skis off and walk down mountains when I tried to ski. And then I was petrified of it forever. And I tried at 25 and I could. I mean, I'm not like, I'm not like a great skier, but I can do it, right? So I don't know if that's because my brain grew, but it's a possibility that I developed a little more coordination. Yeah, I don't know if it's still there, but it did happen. Yeah, so the reason it would have been better if this happened earlier is plasticity. And the word plasticity, plastic, you think of it as the thing that is, plastic. There's so many plastic items that we use. And the reason it was a big deal in like the 50s when it was first invented is people couldn't just mold anything they wanted. They couldn't make any shape they wanted. It's kind of like think about 3D printers now, right? Now you can make any shape you want at home. That's a big deal, right? So think about this the first time you could easily make anything, any shape you wanted. You didn't have to have like a molten, steel pit in order to make a mold of something, or clay, which can break, eat more easily than plastics. That's why it's a big deal. But the thing that makes something plastic is that it's movable and changeable. You can reheat it and change it into something else. So brain plasticity means that it can adapt and change. Okay, and at birth, it's totally plastic. If you had a little chunk taken out of your brain at birth, chances are you would make 100% recovery. Maybe not if it was like the olfactory bulb. If it was something that's genetically so programmed to do one single thing, it would be harder. But a lot of parts of the brain can be programmed to take over function for other parts of the brain. It's just better younger, because as you go through infancy, toddlerhood, in the beginning, your whole brain is lit up with synapses, no matter what you're doing. If you're processing language, looking at something new. And over time, your brain is like, let's prune some of these highways out so that we have like just one road that's really good at this, at like seeing dogs or whatever, right? So instead of having like 14 million cow paths that the electrical signal has to pick between when it wants to grab a ball or something, let's have one, super highway, let's have an Autobahn that just goes straight to grabbing the ball. And what that means is if that Autobahn gets ruined, there's not a million other cow paths anymore that can turn into a new Autobahn. Does that make sense to people? No one's nodding. Have I made no sense? Or like, I can't tell if like now people might just be being nice. Um, but it's called pruning. Like, think of a tree that gets pruned down so that, there's one branch that does each thing now. You cut that branch off, it's not gonna grow the way it used to. All right. So if you're gonna get brain damage, do it young if you have a choice. um, so anyway, I used to show this video of this girl who was having terrible seizures when she was 3, and she had to have half of her brain removed. She had to have her entire right hemisphere removed, or else she was going to die. And because she was 3, how would you expect her recovery to be? Would it be better or worse than if, say, Joe, the guy in the last clip, had a whole half of his brain
Better.
removed? Hmm?
It would be better.
Yeah, it'd be better. Would it be 100% the same as anybody else?
No.
Who's saying that? Sarah?
Yeah, I don't think so.
Yeah, I mean, there's some things like, the motor cortex is pretty genetically programmed for one side to control the other. And also, she's been alive for 3 years. But because she's had these seizures, her brain may have already been developing in response to them. She might have already been using plasticity to her advantage too. So that's another thing. So anyway, I have two videos. We don't have time for both. Would you rather see the one that shows her with more when she's 3 to like 6 or 9, or the one where she's now like, well, I don't know how old she is now, but in this clip, she's like 20 or something, and they're talking about it, and they show some clips of her younger. So the first one or the second one?
The second one.
Everyone, raise your 1 or a 2. Just put a 1 or a 2 in the screen. I thought so. Yeah, okay. Oops. So I think I'm gonna have to stop sharing and then share again. Okay. Can you see this? BBC? No.
No, we can't.
Huh?
No,
can't
we
see-
can't. We can't.
Screen. Now? Oh, no. Now?
Yeah.
I think you have to watch a commercial, sorry. 15 seconds.
How do you manage risk when the world seems upside down? With products and tools that support your strategy every step of the way. Billions of data points. Every major asset class across the full trade.
I have half a brain. When people meet me, they have no idea.
She's like 20. I think she's older actually, but.
I only remember my very first seizure. I was at my daycare playing, and the next thing I knew, I was in an ambulance.
We hightailed it to the hospital and just watched her. She had another seizure the next morning, but nothing that they did worked. She was constantly falling to the left, and it got so bad that one of us had to be on her left side all the time.
It was to the point where I was having seizures every 3 minutes, and that wasn't cool.
The doctor explained that the only way they could treat it was to take out the half of the brain that was affected.
In very, very early childhood, the brain is thought to be in one of its most plastic states. And if you change the brain at that point, there may be a better capacity for the brain to reorganize.
I am a very positive person. A lot of times I'll joke that they took out the mean side of my brain and they only left the happy side.
If you had asked me 25 years ago if it was possible to take out half the brain and still have functioning life, I would have said, you've got to be crazy. But here we are.
Life now with half a brain is, for me, is no different than anybody else. So I've been married 4 years. I live on my own with my husband. I'm really glad my parents did what they did, because I wouldn't be where I am now if I had had the surgery any later or had waited any longer.
Oops. Okay. So, any comments on that? There were some interesting things that she said there, huh? Anything you noticed? Which side did they take out?
The mean
Left
side.
side.
of
The
the
left
brain.
side.
Uh-huh. They took out the mean side. And which side was it?
Left.
No, they left the left.
Oh, the right. So
The right. So they took out the right. And so somebody tell me the train song lyric. It's the first, it's the first line. You don't have to sing it. Your lipstick stain
On the left side of my wait, on the
on the front lobe.
lobe of my left side brain.
Yeah. And what does that mean? Anyone? Was he happy when he was singing that song? Yeah, he's in love with the girl, right? He just keeps singing about how she's great, she dances great, and all he wants to do is blow her mind for the rest of her life. So he's happy. And when she kissed him, she left a stain on his left frontal lobe. The left frontal lobe is where positive emotions are processed. Wait, I think I taught this in my other class. Did I even teach this to you guys? Did I? Yes? Oh, good. I'm like, all right. Thank you. Thank you for being my hippocampi for me. Okay. So he's he's happy. So they really did maybe take out the mean side, right? They took out the right side of her brain, right? And we've talked about Phineas Gage, right? Have we talked about Phineas Gage at all? Okay, he had a railroad spike obliterate his left frontal lobe. And he was nice before, and then he was a huge ass after that because he only had his right frontal lobe left. Destroyed his left eye too. Right? So you can check people's personalities change when they have brain damage. Right? So, hopefully it's going to be on the right. Because it's also a difference in your own perception of the world and your own level of happiness, right? So she's a positive person. What's another good thing about it being the left brain that she's left with?
She's
Oh.
able to process language and speak.
Yes. Yep. Who else was talking right now? Somebody else was saying something. She can speak. Do you remember anything else I said about the left brain? Happy. Can speak. Why does the right brain get angry at it in colossal patients? Remember? Start fighting about the pants. The left brain tends to be dominant, right? It tends to be kind of the executor. Executive functions. Anybody taking education and know what executive functions are? Executive functions are like planning out what you're doing, even planning out your thoughts, So if you're like writing an assignment, going, okay, the first thing I'm going to do is get my main idea. Then I'm going to go back and read this chapter and see how it connects. Then I'm going to write an outline. It's that part of you. And so, and I'm going to get all my stuff together and I know where my stuff is and I know what I have to do tomorrow. And, like the organizer. And some people just have that. Do you know some people who are just like, dun, 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 and some people who are just like, where's my keys? Like, and don't know where anything is and have to learn it all from scratch, right? Do you know people like that? I have identical twins, and one's like Mr. Executive Functioning, and one's like a little disorganized, right? It's funny, and they have the same genes. But anyway, it's the left side of the brain that kind of plays that role for the brain. So that's like another lucky thing about having that part of her brain, the side that stayed. And I don't know in her case if they could just pick, which side of the brain to leave. It might be, I don't know about Rasmussen syndrome. It might be that you could remove either side of the brain and the seizures would stop. I'll have to look that up. But I would definitely vote for my left brain to be there, the one that stayed. You know, definitely less chance of depression, less crying, more happy. So, all right, I guess we'll stop there. Have a great weekend, everybody.
You as well. Thank you. Have a
Thank
nice
you.
weekend.
Thank you. Have a great weekend.
Thanks.